Do you hear it? The echoes of the past, the whispers of forgotten truths, fragments of memories lost in the shadows. Welcome to BRAINROT, Echoes, where we bring you stories long buried, unravel mysteries cloaked by time, and guide you through the darkest corners of the mind and the universe. Each video is more than just content. It's an echo resonating deep within, urging you to question, to wonder, to explore. Backend index pointing right, hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and join us in listening to the echoes the world tried to silence. A strange encounter, Earth and the Galactic Confederation. Are you telling me humans actually enjoy this? Ambassador Zixtral's three primary eyes widened in disbelief as he stared at the holographic display. His secondary eyes remained fixed on Lieutenant Commander Alex Reeves, the human liaison assigned to the Galactic Confederation Embassy. "Hell yeah, we do, Ambassador," Alex replied, cracking open his third energy drink of the morning. The caffeine wasn't strictly necessary. Military neural enhancers kept him alert, but old habits die hard, especially ones formed during his college years. It's practically a cultural institution back home. Been going strong for what? Almost 500 years now. On the display, two humans in elaborate protective gear circled each other on a raised platform. Around them, thousands of other humans screamed with a fervor that made Zixtral's sensory membranes vibrate uncomfortably. But they're attacking each other for entertainment? Zixtral's voice modulator couldn't quite capture the mix of horror and fascination in his natural voice. "This is considered acceptable behavior on your world?" Alex laughed, a sound that still startled many of the embassy's non-human staff. "Ambassador, this is tame. You should see ice hockey or American football. Look, they're about to start the main event." The Galactic Confederation had discovered Earth almost by accident. A routine survey of an empty sector had revealed an anomalous transmission, what turned out to be a centuries-old broadcast. First contact protocols were immediately activated, and within a standard galactic year, Earth had been welcomed as a probationary member of the interstellar community. What the Confederation hadn't expected was how weird humans were. Most species experience space flight after evolving beyond their violent tendencies. Humans, on the other hand, had reached the stars while still enthusiastically maintaining millennia-old traditions of ritualized combat. The diplomatic corps was fascinated. The military was disenchanted, which is how Lieutenant Commander Alex Reeves, former Marine and reluctantly diplomat, found himself assigned to cultural exchange duties at the Confederation Embassy in New Chicago. "Wait, he's already bleeding. Shouldn't they stop the encounter?" Zixtral's breathing apparatus hissed in distress as one of the fighters on screen took a hard punch to the face, sending a spray of crimson across the canvas. "Nah, that's nothing," Alex waved dismissively. "Just a little nosebleed. You should have seen my match against Daniels back in '58. Doc said I lost 2 pints before the ref called it." "You were involved in this barbarism?" The ambassador's skin shifted to a pale yellow, the Zenturi equivalent of blanching. 3 years on the amateur circuit. Would have gone pro if the Corps hadn't recruited me. Alex absent-mindedly traced the scar along his jawline. "Still keep up with my training, though. Never know when you might need to throw a decent right hook, even in the diplomatic service." The ambassador's translator must have struggled with the idiom because he looked even more alarmed. "It's a figure of speech, mostly," Alex added quickly, though that incident with the Frelian delegation last month did get a little handsy. On screen, the crowd roared as one fighter executed a complex takedown, transitioning smoothly into a submission hold. "See that?" Alex pointed excitedly. "Beautiful technique." "He's setting up for a..." The fighter on the bottom suddenly twisted the position, scrambling to his feet. The crowd went wild. "Incredible." Alex slapped his thighs. "Didn't see that coming. Your species deliberately places itself in danger for recreation." It wasn't a question anymore, but a statement of dawning comprehension. "Ambassador, you have no idea. This is just the tip of the iceberg." Human fascination with combat sports was just one of many behavioral patterns that baffled the Confederation's xenopsychologists. Their preliminary report on human psychology, a document that had expanded to over 12,000 pages within 6 months of first contact, contains an entire chapter titled Recreational Risk-Taking, the Human Addiction to Danger. It wasn't just fighting. Humans climbed frozen mountains without environmental suits. They hurled themselves out of perfectly functional aircraft. They strapped themselves to controlled explosions and called it motorsport. They deliberately exposed themselves to harmful radiation to alter their skin pigmentation. The Confederation Security Council had debated for weeks before deciding that humans weren't actually suicidal as a species. They were just unfathomably strange. 2 hours and several more fights later, Zygstral's curiosity had evolved from horrified to academic. In this particular combat ritual, mixed martial arts, you called it? Alex nodded, impressed by how quickly the ambassador caught on. Exactly. Boxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, pretty much any effective fighting style eventually gets incorporated. It's been evolving for centuries. Fascinating. And these practitioners, they are not soldiers. Nope. Regular. Well, some ex-military, but mostly just athletes who trained specifically for competition. Zygstral's primary eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep thought among his species. I believe I understand now. This is not merely violence for its own sake. It is artistry, discipline, a test of strategy and physical capability within controlled parameters. Alex raised his eyebrows, truly surprised. That's actually a pretty good assessment, Ambassador. Most off-worlders just see the blood and flip out. I'm a diplomat, Commander Reeves. It is my job to understand, not to judge. The ambassador paused. Though I must admit, I still find it difficult to understand why anyone would voluntarily subject themselves to such physical trauma. Alex smiled. That's the interesting part. Ask 10 different fighters, you'll get 10 different answers. Glory, money, the challenge, the adrenaline rush. He scratched his chin. For me, it was about finding out what I was made of. Nothing tests you like being locked in a cage with someone who's trained specifically to break you. And did you discover what you were made of? Alex's smile turned wistful. Sure did. Turns out I'm made of questionable life choices and a really sturdy jawbone. The ambassador made a sound that his translator couldn't quite process, possibly the Zenturi version of a chuckle. I believe there is much our peoples can learn from each other, Commander. That's what I'm here for, Ambassador. Cultural exchange at its finest. The final bell rang on the hollow screen, and both fighters raised their arms, bloodied but standing. 3 months later, Alex found himself in a situation that diplomatic training had definitely not prepared him for. You want me to? Admiral Kovac of the Confederation Defense Fleet repeated himself. Mandibles clicking in what Alex had learned was a sign of impatience. Instructing our special operations units in human combat techniques. The Security Council has authorized a pilot program. Alex looked around the briefing room at the 24 alien soldiers watching him expectantly. They represented 6 different species and a bewildering variety of body types, from the 8-foot-tall, 4-armed Drac to the diminutive, almost childlike Lath whose slight frames. Sir, I'm a diplomatic officer, not a combat instructor. Your service record indicates otherwise, Commander. 3 years in special operations before your diplomat assignment. Advanced certification in 7 combat disciplines. And the Admiral's compound eyes fixed on Alex. A rather impressive record in those cage fights you humans seem to enjoy. Alex suppressed a groan. Of course they'd done a deep background check. That was a long time ago, sir. The Security Council believes that human combat methods may offer unique tactical advantages. Your species developed fighting techniques without the benefit of enhanced strength, natural weapons, or redundant organ systems. You create efficiency out of necessity. Put that way, it almost made sense. Almost. And why me specifically, sir? There must be actual combat instructors you could bring in. The Admiral's translator conveyed what might have been a sigh. Political, Commander. The progressives on the Council want this program. The conservatives fear introducing human savagery to our forces. You, as a diplomat with combat experience, represent a compromise. Alex looked again at the assembled soldiers. They stared back with expressions ranging from curiosity to what he interpreted as skepticism. When do we start? Immediately. Again. Alex barked, circling the training mat where a draft warrior was attempting to execute a basic hip throw on a Lath opponent. You're still thinking like a draft. Use your opponent's momentum, not just your strength. The massive four-armed alien concentrated, evident in his movements as he tried again. This time, when the smaller Lath charged, the draft pivoted smoothly, using the attacker's own momentum to send him flying, perhaps a bit too effectively, as the Lath sailed cleanly across the training area. Better, Alex called out, though in an actual fight, you might want to control the landing a bit more. The goal is to subdue, not to launch your opponent into orbit. A ripple of translator-delayed laughter moved through the observing soldiers. 8 weeks into the program, and progress had been interesting. Each species brought its own biological advantages and limitations to the training. The challenge wasn't teaching them to fight. Most were already accomplished warriors by their own standards, but rather teaching them to fight differently. Humans, lacking the natural advantages of most Confederation species, had developed combat styles that emphasized efficiency, adaptability, and exploitation of weaknesses. These concepts were revolutionary to warriors accustomed to relying on inherent biological superiority. Commander, a soft voice interrupted his thoughts. He turned to find Kalra, a Savangaji female whose feline grace made her unnatural at the flowing movements of jiu-jitsu. I have been studying the historical context of these techniques. Many were developed for smaller individuals to defeat larger opponents. Yes, that's right, Alex confirmed. Especially styles like judo and jiu-jitsu. They were specifically designed to allow a physically weaker person to overcome a stronger one through technique rather than power. Kalra's vertical pupils brightened slightly, like the Lath among us, always physically outmatched, yet now regularly defeating opponents twice their size in training. Alex groaned. Exactly. Humans have always been creative when it comes to overcoming disadvantages. A fascinating evolutionary adaptation, Kalra observed, to compensate for physical limitations with intellectual solutions. I'm not sure our ancestors thought of it quite that way, but sure, let's go with that. Kalra tilted her head, a gesture Alex had come to recognize as the Sengaji equivalent of a smile. I begin to understand why the Security Council is both interested and alarmed by your species, Commander. Before Alex could respond, alarms blared throughout the training facility. Red emergency lights pulsed along the walls. The Admiral's voice came over the communication system. All personnel to battle stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. The briefing room was packed with officers when Alex arrived, having followed his alien students through unfamiliar emergency protocols. Admiral Kovac stood at the front, his exoskeleton tense in a way that translated across species barriers as extreme concern. 30 minutes ago, our long-range sensors detected 3 vessels entering Confederation space near the Cygnus Arm Outpost. They are not responding to hails and are traveling at high velocity toward the Zenturi colony on Proxima 4. Murmurs rippled through the assembled officers. Preliminary analysis suggests they match known Confederation design. They appear to be. The Admiral paused, mandibles rapidly clicking. Ships of unknown origin. Alex felt a chill run down his spine. In diplomat speak, unknown origin usually means one thing: the harvesters. For centuries before discovering Earth, the Confederation had dealt with occasional raids from a mysterious species known only as the harvesters. They appeared without warning, attacked isolated colonies, and disappeared with resources and sometimes captives. All attempts at communication had failed. All diplomatic overtures had been ignored. The harvesters were the bogeyman of Confederation space, a threat that was rare enough to not warrant full-scale military preparation, but common enough to instill a lingering fear in frontier colonies. Sir, Alex spoke up, drawing surprised looks from the alien officers. What's the defensive capability at Proxima 4? The Admiral's compound eyes fixed on him. Minimal. It is mainly a research outpost with approximately 12,000 civilians. Standard orbital defenses, but nothing that could repel a determined attack. How long until your fleet can respond? The nearest battle group is 17 hours away at maximum speed. Alex did some quick mental calculation. And the harvesters? The admiral didn't bother correcting Alex's assumption about the identity of the approaching ships. They will reach Proxima 4 in approximately 4 hours. The room fell silent as the implications set in. 12,000 civilians with minimal defenses against an enemy known for showing no mercy. What about us? Alex gestured to the training facility around them. We're closer, aren't we? This is a training station, Commander, not a military vessel. We have a single transport ship with light armaments. It will be suicide. Alex felt the eyes of his alien students on him. Kara, the massive Dravk warrior Gornal, the Tastern-Lath twins who had proven so adept at human fighting techniques. Sir, he said carefully, I'd like to propose an alternative approach. This is without question the stupidest plan I have ever participated in. Gornal rumbled as they boarded the transport vessel. His 4 massive arms were laden with equipment hastily requisitioned from the training facility's armory. That makes 2 of us, big guy, Alex replied, checking the seal on his combat suit. But stupid is kind of a human specialty. Kalra moved with silent grace behind them, her own minimal equipment, but carefully selected. The Admiral was correct. This is likely suicide. Only if we try to fight conventionally, they are assured, Alex said, securing his helmet. But we're not going to do that. The small band of warriors, 3 humans from diplomatic security who had volunteered, and 17 alien soldiers from Alex's training program, gathered in the transport's briefing area. Here's what we know about the harvesters. Alex activated the holographic display, the limited intelligence the Confederation had gathered over centuries of sporadic encounters. They're technologically advanced, but tactically predictable. They follow the same pattern. Disable planetary defenses, land harvest ships, extract resources, occasionally take captives, then leave. Their ships are heavily armored and outgunned everything in their class. Frontal assault is suicide, added Lieutenant Park, one of the human security officers. So we don't assault, Alex continued. We infiltrate. The plan was audacious to the point of absurdity. Their transport would approach Proxima 4 from the system's sun side, using the star's radiation to mask their signature. While the harvesters engaged the colony's orbital defenses, they would attach to the largest harvester vessel using magnetic grapples, essentially performing a spacewalk boarding action. Once aboard, Alex explained, we split into 3 teams. Team 1 disables their engines. Team 2 disrupts their weapon systems. Team 3 locates their command center and attempts to negotiate. Kalra's ears flattened against her skull. The harvesters have never responded to communication attempts. That's because no one's ever been in a position to put a gun to their head while talking, Alex replied grimly. Sometimes you need to get someone's attention before they'll listen. The gathered warriors exchanged glances, translator implants working overtime to process the subtle cultural connotations. This is not how the Confederation conducts warfare, one of the Lath twins observed quietly. No, Alex agreed. It's how humans do it. And right now, we need to think like humans. He looked around at the assembled team. Any objections? Silence. Quiet then. Let's go save some colonists. The approach to the harvester vessel was simultaneously terrifying and awe-inspiring. Up close, the alien ship resembled nothing so much as a massive, angular insect, all sharp edges and ominous protrusions against the backdrop of space. Magnetic grapples ready. Lieutenant Park reported from the pilot's seat. We'll have one shot at this, Commander. Alex nodded, already suited up along with the rest of the boarding team. Take us in nice and easy. The transport's engines hummed at minimal power as they drifted toward the harvester vessel, using the ongoing battle with the colony's orbital defenses as cover. 300 meters, 200, 100. Alex felt sweat beading on his forehead despite the suit's cooling system. 50 meters. Launching grapples. Grapples shuddered as the magnetic grapples launched, trailing their carbon fiber tethers toward the harvester hull. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed they might miss. Then came the metallic clunk of successful attachment. We're on. Reeling in now, the transport's winches activated, slowly pulling them toward the alien vessel until they made contact with a dull thud that reverberated through the hull. Cutting team, you're up. Two of the draft warriors moved to the airlock, specialized cutting tools in their forehands. With practiced precision, they began creating an entry point into the harvester ship. Remember, Alex addressed the team one final time. We stay in communication. We stick to the plan. And we come back alive. These bastards have been terrorizing the Confederation for centuries. Today, they learn what happens when they pick a fight with humanity's friends. The airlock hissed open, revealing the dark, angular interior of the harvester vessel. Team 1, led by Kal-Ra, moved silently through the alien corridors toward what their scan suggested was the engineering section. The Savange's natural night vision proved invaluable in the dimly lit passageways. Team 2, with the Lath twins and a contingency of the physically strongest warriors, headed for the weapons control systems. Alex led Team 3 himself, Lieutenant Park, and 3 of his most adaptable students, toward the ship's central command area. The interior of the harvester vessel was unlike anything in Confederation design. The corridors seemed organic, almost with surfaces that pulsed with subtle bioluminescence. The atmosphere was breathable, but had an acrid quality that made Alex grateful for his helmet's filtration system. Most surprising was the apparent lack of internal security. They encountered no guards, no automated defenses, nothing to prevent their progress deeper into the ship. This doesn't feel right. Park persisted over the comm. It's too easy. Maybe they've never been boarded before, Alex suggested. Never needed internal defenses. Or perhaps, Kal-Ra's voice echoed, they simply have no concept of being attacked in this manner. Team 1 has reached the engineering section, beginning Phase 2. Team 2 in position as well, reported one of the Lath twins. Though I must note, Commander, these systems bear little resemblance to our briefing materials. Alex frowned behind his visor. The Confederation's intelligence on harvester technology was limited, but had been presented as reasonably accurate. Adapt as necessary. Stick to the mission parameters. His own team continued forward, following the ship's natural flow toward what they hoped was the command center. The passages gradually brightened, the bioluminescence growing brighter. Contact! Park hissed suddenly, raising his weapon. Ahead, a figure emerging from a side passage, the first harvester any of them had seen up close. It was tall, easily 7 feet, with a body structure that seemed simultaneously insectoid and reptilian. Multiple limbs moved with unsettling grace, and what appeared to be a head swiveled toward them with alarming speed. For a moment, human, alien soldiers and harvesters stared at each other in mutual shock. Then the harvester emitted a high-pitched sound that needed no translation, an alarm. Stick to the plan, Alex shouted as chaos erupted across all 3 teams. Team 1 status. Engineering section secured. Kal-Ra responded, the sounds of struggle evident in the background. But these systems, Commander, they're not mechanical. They're biological. Same in the weapons section, came the report from Team 2. These aren't conventional systems. It's like the ship itself is alive. Alex cursed under his breath as his own team engaged with a growing number of harvester defenders. The aliens moved with startling speed, wielding weapons that fired not projectiles but some kind of corrosive fluid. Fall back to junction point C, Alex ordered, firing his own weapon to provide cover. We need to regroup. The carefully planned infiltration was rapidly deteriorating into a running battle through the twisted corridors of the harvester vessel. Yet even in the chaos, Alex noticed something odd. The harvesters weren't trying to kill them. Their attacks seemed designed to incapacitate, to capture rather than eliminate. As his team reached the designated junction point, Alex made a split-second decision. Change of plans. All teams converge on my position. We're going to push forward to the command center together. Commander, Park protested. We're outnumbered and outgunned. And the longer we stay separated, the more likely we all get picked off. Alex countered. We still have surprise and human ingenuity on our side. Let's use them. Within minutes, the scattered teams had regrouped, minus 2 warriors who had been captured in the initial confusion. Together, they formed a more formidable fighting force, combining the various strengths of the different species. Gornal, you and the other draft take point. Kalra, coordinate with the Laugh for flanking maneuvers. Everyone else providing fire, and watch our 6. The makeshift squad moved with newfound purpose, pushed deeper into the harvester vessel. The resistance accelerated, but so did their coordination. Weeks of training together, learning to incorporate human fighting techniques with their natural abilities began to pay dividends. The draft warriors used their 4 arms to devastating effect, wielding multiple weapons simultaneously. The Laugh, small and quick, darted between the larger combatants, striking with precision at vulnerable points. Kalra moved like liquid shadow, appearing where least expected. And throughout it all, Alex led from the front, calling out patterns and weaknesses, adapting their approach as they learned more about their adversaries. They were nearing what appeared to be a central chamber when the entire ship shuddered violently. What was that? Park demanded over the comm. The colony's orbital defenses, one of the Confederation officers replied. They've managed to score a direct hit on this vessel. Alex grimaced. Then we're running out of time. If this ship takes critical damage before we complete the mission. He didn't need to finish the thought. Everyone understood the stakes. One final push, he ordered. Let's end this. The command center of the harvester vessel defied all expectations. Instead of the bridge or control room they had anticipated, they found themselves in what appeared to be a vast, cathedral-like chamber dominated by a pulsating organic mass that filled the center of the room. Around this central feature, harvesters moved in complex patterns, touching various appendages to surfaces that glowed in response. What the hell is that thing? Park whispered, weapon trained on the nearest harvester. Before anyone could respond, the ship shuddered again, more violently this time. Warning lights pulsed throughout the chamber, and the harvester's movements became more agitated. Whatever it is, it seems important, Alex observed. Let's use that. He stepped forward, weapon raised. Nobody move, he shouted, hoping the harvester's translation systems, if they had any, would convey his intent, if not his exact words. The effect was immediate. Every harvester in the chamber froze, multifaceted eyes turning toward the intruders. For a long moment, silence reigned. Then, to everyone's surprise, one of the harvesters stepped forward. Unlike the others, this one's exoskeleton bore elaborate marks, some kind of rank insignia, perhaps. It raised 2 of its upper limbs in what seemed a universal gesture of non-aggression, and then it spoke. Not in any recognizable language, but in a series of clicks and whistles that the team's translators struggled to process. Is it trying to communicate? Kara asked incredibly. The harvester gestured toward a console near the central organic mass. After a moment's hesitation, it approached the console and activated some kind of interface. The air above the console shimmered, and a crude holographic representation appeared, showing the harvester vessel, the colony below, and what appeared to be a visualization of resources being extracted. I think it's trying to explain their mission, Alex said, lowering his weapon slightly. They're resource gatherers, just like we thought. The harvester added to the holographic display, now showing something new, a distant star system with numerous planets, all pulsing with an angry red light. Something's wrong with their home system, Park interpreted. They're desperate for resources. Alex studied the alien carefully. All these years, all these raids, you've been trying to survive, haven't you? Not invading. Salvaging. The harvester made another series of sounds, and this time the translator managed to process a few fragments. Necessary survival. Regrettable. The ship shuddered again, more violently than before. Alarm. Critical hull breach detected, announced a voice over their comm system. Lieutenant Quan from the transport vessel. Commander, you need to evacuate immediately. That ship is breaking apart. Alex made a split-second decision. We're not leaving empty-handed. He gestured to the harvester leader. You come with us. It's time your people and the Confederation had a proper conversation. Whether through the translator or simple context, the harvester seemed to understand. It issued a series of rapid commands to its subordinates, then turned back to Alex and inclined its head in what might have been agreement. All teams fall back to extraction point, Alex ordered, and bring our new friend here. Let's show the Confederation how humans handle first contact. The debriefing aboard the Confederation flagship Eternal Vigilance lasted for hours. Admiral Kovac and a panel of high-ranking officers listened in stunned silence as Alex and his team recounted their mission, culminating in the unprecedented capture, or rescue, depending on one's perspective, of a Harvester command-level individual. "Let me ensure I understand correctly, Commander," the Admiral said finally. "You boarded an enemy vessel with a squad of training personnel, engaged in direct combat with a technologically superior foe, and rather than completing your mission objectives of disabling their ship, you decided to initiate diplomatic relations?" Put that way, it did sound rather absurd. "The mission parameters changed once we understood the situation, sir," Alex replied evenly. "The Harvesters aren't invaders. They're refugees. Their home system is experiencing some kind of catastrophic event. They've been harvesting resources out of desperation, not malice." "A convenient interpretation," one of the Confederation officers commented dryly. One supported by the Harvester's own testimony. Kara interjected, her normally reserved demeanor giving way to passionate defense of their findings. "Their communication systems are finally interfacing with our translators. They've been trying to communicate their situation for centuries, but our technologies were too different." The Admiral's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "And you believe this single Harvester can facilitate peaceful relations between our peoples?" "It's a start," Alex said. "Better than centuries more of misunderstanding and conflict." After a moment's consideration, the Admiral nodded. "The Security Council will need to be informed. This development changes many long-held assumptions." "Ah, sir," Alex added, "I'd like to formally request assignment as liaison to the Harvester delegation during preliminary negotiations." The Admiral's compound eyes fixed on him with an unreadable alien expression. "You've developed quite a taste for unusual diplomatic assignments, Commander. Let's just say I found my niche, sir." 6 months later, Alex stood on the observation deck of the newly established Joint Confederation Harvester Research Station orbiting Proxima 4. Beside him, the Harvester delegate, now known by the translated name Pathfinder, contemplated the view of the planet below. "Your people have adapted quickly to cooperate," Alex observed. "The resource-sharing agreements are already promising results." Pathfinder's translator rendered his complex vocalizations into slightly stilted standard. "Necessity is a powerful motivator, Commander Reeves, as your species has demonstrated throughout its history." Speaking of which, Alex gestured to the training facility visible on the station's opposite arm. "I hear your warriors have been participating in the expanded combat training program." "Indeed," was that amusement in the alien's voice. "They found human fighting techniques effective. Unexpectedly, though, they struggled with some of the concepts, such as the idea of a fair fight. Our evolutionary history never developed such a concept. Efficiency was all that mattered." Alex laughed. "You'd be surprised how many humans feel the same way. The fair fight is more ideal than reality for us too." They stood in companionable silence for a moment, watching as a Confederation vessel docked with the station. "I must confess," Pathfinder said eventually, "when we first encountered your species, many among my kind feared you would be our destruction. Your reputation precedes you, a species still embracing combat while achieving spaceflight. It seemed a dangerous combination. And now I understand what the Confederation is only beginning to learn, that humanity's peculiar evolution has produced not just warriors, but problem solvers. You see opportunities where others see only threats." Alex considered this. "We've had to be adaptable. When you're not the strongest, fastest, or most numerous species on your own planet, you learn to think creatively, a trait that may prove invaluable in the challenges ahead. The calamity affecting our home system is spreading," Pathfinder noted ominously. "Our sciences believe it may eventually threaten this entire sector of the galaxy. Then we'll face it together, Alex said with a casual confidence that still bewildered many non-humans. Confederation technology, harvester resilience, and human ingenuity. That's a combination I'd bet on any day. Pathfinder made a sound that Alex had come to recognize as laughter. Your species' optimism in the face of overwhelming odds is perhaps your most alien characteristic, Commander. Nah, Alex grinned. That would be our insistence on throwing perfectly good sporting events by implementing rules that make them harder to win. Speaking of which, the first interspecies MMA tournament is scheduled for next month. You should come watch. The combat ritual you showed Ambassador Zixtral? The very same. We've modified the rules to accommodate different physiologies. It should be interesting. Pathfinder's head tilted in consideration. Perhaps I will. After observing humans in battle, I find myself curious to see how you approach ritualized combat. Trust me, Alex said, clapping the alien on what approximated a shoulder. You haven't seen anything yet. Humanity is just getting started. Later that evening, in his quarters aboard the station, Alex recorded his weekly report to Confederation Command. Integration of Harvester representatives continues to exceed expectations, he dictated. Joint scientific endeavors are progressing rapidly, with particular success in the fields of biologically integrated technology and resource extraction methodologies. He paused, considering his next words carefully. I would like to formally request expansion of the cultural exchange program, with particular emphasis on human problem-solving approaches. The threat identified by Harvester scientists to their home system appears to be a previously unknown phenomenon that may have wider implications for the sector. Another pause. On a personal note, I believe the situation perfectly exemplifies why humanity's inclusion in the Confederation was not premature, as some have suggested. Our species brings a unique perspective, forged through millennia of overcoming limitations through innovation and, yes, conflict. He flickered slightly. As Ambassador Zixtra recently observed, humans don't just survive adversity. We actively seek it out, study it, and ultimately transform it into advantage. In the face of this new threat, that particular human trait may prove to be the Confederation's greatest asset. He ended the recording and turned to the viewport where the distant stars shimmered against the void of space. Somewhere out there, an unknown danger was spreading between star systems, a threat that had driven the fearsome harvesters to desperate measures, a challenge that might dwarf anything the Confederation had faced in its long history. And Alex couldn't help but feel a familiar surge of adrenaline at the thought. Humanity had never been good at backing down from a fight.